Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of LCS Breakdown. First things first, I kind of went MIA for a bit, but I was really busy with work and IRL stuff and whatnot, and then the LCS schedule got a little too hectic uh, in the back half with super weeks and it's a whole thing. But I'm intending to be here for the rest of, or for the start and the entirety of Summer Split. There might be one really rough week where we end on a Sunday and then, what week is that? I think it's week 3, where we end on Sunday and then we start playing immediately on Thursday afterwards, so the turnaround is really, really short. But I'll do my best. I'll do my best. I might So, in between week 3 and 4, there's a quote 2-week break unquote that goes from like June 28th or something to like July 20th, right? So basically missing a month. And during that time, it appears that Team Liquid and FlyQuest will be at the Esports World Cup in Saudi Arabia. I may or may not cover some of that information as it comes out. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to watch the games or if I'm not. But we'll get there when we get there. Part of me wants to watch it just to see, like, because it's just MSI 2 with a really short format. And it could be really good for Team Liquid, but it could also not be. And also, it's just Saudi Arabia in general. Oh well. Anyhow, there are some new things to discuss with our LCS. So, we have single round robin best of 3s. So, for anyone that doesn't know, that would mean that each team is only going to play one match against every other team in the regular season before playoffs. And a best of 3 means that they will play up to 3 games until one team wins 2 games, and that is the match score. So, this kinda sucks, but it's also kind of okay. Theoretically, we are supposed to get more games because unless every single series is a 2-0, there's going to be some series that should be close, either between the really bad teams or the really good teams. And there's going to be a few more games. I definitely think that, like, it's not going to go all the way to having 50% more games, but there's probably going to be, like, how many games was it? It's what, 2? It's 14 games per team. So, like, maybe they'll get like 16 per team or something. I don't know. But single round robin doesn't feel the greatest because it gives a pretty small sample size. You'll see teams that are like have 3 wins and 4 losses, and they're in playoffs. Yay. um, it's not a super big issue. I know they need to get data on how best of 3s operates with viewership and shit, but also they did kind of just drop that next year LCS is gone and it's merging in with they're creating an America's League with Central and South America. So we might not see this format at all. We might not see it upgraded. We might see a worse format again next year. I don't know. It's hard. But I was hoping that, single round robin, they get the data, it looks good or at least okay, and they're like, okay, maybe we can try something different. If it were up to me, personally, instead of doing a best of 3, at least, if they're really set on this particular format, instead of doing a best of 3, I would much rather have them do like a 3 block. they just play all 3 games no matter who wins. So like even if Team A wins 2 games, normally they would stop the series, everyone goes home. There's just one more game to play. Why not? That way we're guaranteed at least 50% more games. So that way teams go from playing 14 games to 21, which is way better. Or this is a little crazy because it's a big no-no, but I think if we did 3 doubleheaders, that is a match with 2 games, and it doesn't matter who wins or loses. It's just a 2-game series or 2-game match between the 2 teams, and even if they go 1-1, oh well, who cares? It needs to be points based, so that way you gain a point for every game you win. So that way, that's how we would figure out like the standings at the end of the day. I think if we did 3 doubleheaders on a day, then we could have a 3rd day that just has 2 doubleheaders. I know adding another broadcast day is like a big no-no according to like literally everyone, but I don't think it's the worst option. I mean, it's just one more day. It's not even a full day, right? Instead of playing 3 doubleheaders, it's 2. And there could be something done about it to make the cost a little more effective on the weekend. Have, like, the casters are casting from home for day 3 or something again, right? Don't bring everyone into the office but then it does get to kind of where it's like, okay, now there's like these yucky issues between teams connecting to the tournament realm and playing their game on there through like maybe a yucky ping or something. Plus, delays, whatever the hell happens. It could get yucky, but I think there's things that could be done about it to lessen the cost of running a day 3. I think the best option here definitely is the 3 block instead of a best of 3. 3 games every match guaranteed. There's also a change to the playoff format to decide who goes to Worlds. And I definitely actually have a little bit of a problem with this one. So it's double elimination again. Every team has 2 lives, so our first and second seeded team at the end of the regular season get a bye week, and every other team has to duke it out, right? So let me just yank this up here real quick. Boop boop. Let me move myself over so everyone can see. So I didn't think this through. I need like a marker, and I don't have one. I am going to use myself. So here we see first seed and second seed get a bye week, and the rest of the teams have to duke it out. So one of the problems from last year with our 8-team double elim, kind of with the losers bracket, and also first and second seed got a bye week. At the end of the regular season last year, Golden Guardians was second seed, right here. They ended up losing this match, and they went into the lower bracket. They beat a struggling, like, 5th place team to move up, and then they ended up securing 4th place overall, which sent them to the World Qualifying Series, where they played that match against BDS to see which region got an extra world slot. So my problem with this here is that if the same thing were to happen, if Golden Guardians were to lose, they would be seeded immediately into 4th place. Instead of having to win at least one best of 5 series against a bad struggling team at the end of a year, they would have to win absolutely nothing. So just so everything's clear, right? So this is our first week's matchup here. If seed number 4 beats seed number 5, seed number 4 comes up to first place. If seed 3 beats seed 6, seed number 3 comes up here, right? First seed is expected to beat seed number 4. That's totally normal. And then second seed let's just say they lose to seed number 3. So what happens is that the lower seed has to fight their way through the gauntlet first, and then the higher seed is placed up. So the 4th seed comes down here, the 2nd seed just comes up here, and it's just absolutely free. I don't know for certain if they're still doing the World Qualifying Series. There hasn't been any talk about not doing it, so I would assume that it's still going to happen for this year before everything gets fucked up next year. So this doesn't feel very good at all. You know? It just doesn't sit right. The gauntlet format is kind of neat, but I couldn't really care less. I know it was a huge thing back in the day, but like I don't really see a benefit to it personally. It could be cool. A lot of people have been asking for it again, but I don't know if this is different from the one that was done like way back in the day. I think like before 2020, because that was when I started watching, and I don't recall there being a gauntlet then. But this just doesn't feel like it actually is impactful at all. But oh well, everything is changed next year anyhow. So from there, there's some roster moves for anyone that hasn't been paying super attention. Cloud9 has benched Fudge, not dropped him. He is still on the team. Rumor has it he's still fighting for a spot to play. So there's a weird 6-man situation. Not really sure how that's ever going to work out, but Fudge is on the bench, and they brought in Korean challengers Thanatos. He's supposed to be really good. We'll get into that later. And then for the head coach position, they dropped Mithy and they signed Reapered, who brought them on their world semifinal run in 2018. FlyQuest has dropped Jensen and brought up their academy mid laner Quad. Quad is also supposed to be really good. He was apparently just like completely dicking down everyone in academy or challengers last year, or last split rather. And he is kind of a veteran from like Korea. I think he played in LCK for a bit, and he was in their challengers for however long, I don't know exactly. But they picked up Mithy as their assistant coach. Yeah, we'll talk about the coaches later when we get to power rankings. Next change, we have Shopify has benched Boogie and brought up their 6th man Tomio, who was the academy jungler for the team before their academy team like poof gone into dust. Boogie though has been, he's not like gone, but he has been put up as the jungle role coach, positional coach. Next we have Immortals, which is just a head coach change, where they lost Sharks and they brought in Anero. Anero has been pretty pog, in my opinion, for the time that I've seen him, turning a lot of like nothing into something. So as much of an actual fan as I am of this Immortals roster, I hope it really turns out well. And then lastly, we have the really big change in Dignitas, where they dropped Rich, despite how hard they were sucking him off for the past year and a half. And they brought up Licorice, which, big, huge. Licorice is awesome. He deserves the spot. Definitely better than Rich, but I do think it's kind of weird that they just like dropped Rich like that. They very suddenly and dramatically dropped XU to bring Spica onto the team. Again, big W, right? We love Spica. But there was some good controversy around how they handled XU not playing. A rumor has it he's still on the team and he's fighting for a spot, but I can neither confirm nor deny what exactly is happening with him. But it does seem to be another weird 6th man thing. where he's probably not actually going to get to do anything. He's just still signed to the team. He did make it sound like it's confirmed that he's going to be playing in NACL again. But I'm not really big on how contracts work and everything, so I have no clue what is actually supposed to be going on with him. Next, they dropped... Okay, this one is a rumor. It's not been confirmed yet. And we are starting the split in, like, 5 days. What fucking day is it? Yeah, 5 days. It's rumored that they have dropped Dove, their mid laner, and they are bringing Jensen, who has been kicked off of FlyQuest. This is still just a rumor, I think. I don't think it's been confirmed yet. But, again, this is kind of a big deal, right? Dove, he didn't actually look bad last split, but I think bringing in all of these players and having, like, that communication barrier just wouldn't have been good for him anyway. So I think it's okay to bring in probably an equal side grade to maybe slightly downgrade of a mid laner. Jensen, if nothing, is stable and won't, like, giga lose lane. But, I mean, I don't know. I think it's the language barrier and team, like, synergy that they're trying to really focus on for, like, one last hoorah. Lastly, they dropped Tomo, good, and they picked up Sven as an AD carry. So this one is, I think, actually the biggest one for me, in my opinion. I'm really, really excited to see Sven back on a team as an AD carry. He has just kind of really proved himself to be such a key piece to, like, that C9 group from last year that is, like, now crumbled without him. So I'm actually really looking forward to see how this team performs. They've got a bunch of great names that everyone likes or dislikes, but, you know, any attention is good attention. And I think that this team could actually do pretty well. So, with that being said, I don't think there's anything else crazy to talk about. So we're going to get on to our power rankings. Alright, I'm going to try and keep this sweet and simple, but I'm going to fail. So, starting off, first place at the end of the regular season, and in our S tier, the only member in S tier, as much as it hurts my heart, I have to put it to Team Liquid. So, I've always been, like, a Team Liquid hater, like, forever. I've even been, like, a Yawn hater for, like, ever. Since they brought him up, and I just was not a fan of Team Liquid, or even of Yawn, or, like, the structure they have. I've been a core hater for, like, 2 years, if not longer. But I have to give it to them, because they won the split last year. Last split, rather. They won Spring Split. And then they went to MSI. They had a rough start against Top Esports. But that was their first series. They go down, they smack the shit out of Fnatic, and then they go and they play a series against T1 that could have been a Team Liquid 3-0 if they didn't fuck around and find out too much. Right? Like, 3 pretty good games, and then, you know, like, one shellacking, and it was just, and they do well. But 3 really good games against the reigning world champion is nothing to sneeze at, right? In addition, Yawn was fucking going ham. He was going crazy with it, locking in the Samira and having an amazing game on it. Right? Even APA, the meta hit him just right. All his champions are just meta now. And he is looking pretty decent in lane against, like, these established mid laners. These veterans that have been in the scene for fucking how long. He's looking okay. He wasn't looking like he was, you know, getting put in a mating press by, like, Joe Schmo, the fucking mid laner of GAM last year. But I'm really hoping that Team Liquid comes back to LCS. They bring back what they learned, and they keep this kind of level of play. It's expected usually for the teams that go to MSI to have a little bit of a slump at the start of a season. You can't afford that this season, though. You can't afford that, like, at all. We have 3 weeks, and then half of your games are over. We have a 2-week break. Team Liquid then flies out to Saudi Arabia to go compete in the fucking Transphobia Cup or something. And then they come back from another, travel, another week-long rolling fucking thing, if they even make it that long. And half of their season's already gone. They're overworked and tired. There's no chance for them to be bad at the start of the season. They have to hit the ground running, and they have to keep running as long as they can. They can get a break after Worlds is over. This might sound like a bit of an ass, but it's kind of true. Every game matters. If you lose 2-0 to like Immortals in your second week, it could be GG from there. But TL, first place, and currently our only team in our S rank. Alright, our next team, people might ask what I'm smoking and if they can have some. What I'm smoking, you're not legally allowed to know, and can you have some? The answer is no. But I am putting NRG at the top of A and in second place. So this is definitely a little bit out of left field because they finished 5th place last split or something, right? It doesn't look good, but I'm a believer. The faithful shall be rewarded, and I am being so faithful right now. So I have intel that they're doing so much better in scrims right now, that they're playing much more like they were playing last summer. And we have seen the peaks of all of these players at some point. Even just last year, seeing contracts absolutely obliterate G2, seeing Palafox run this fucking league, it gives a lot of hope that this team can return to form. They can play their summer much better than they played their spring, and second place. I don't think it's actually that hard to get second place in this region right now, which sucks, but also is good for them. So this is a believer. This is a believer thing. The faithful shall be rewarded, and I'm being so faithful right now. So please, NRG second place, please. I'm begging you. The next team on the list, and third place, middle of A tier, it's the next 3 teams are kind of interchangeable in my opinion. So we're gonna start with FlyQuest, middle of A tier, third place. So this is kind of less that I think Fly is good enough to be third place, and I think it's more like the rest of the teams are just worse than them by nature. And that kind of really sucks, but we'll explain a little bit. So the swap from Jensen to Quad may be what this team needs to come alive. They may need that mid laner that's going to try and shit down the other guy's throat, so that way he can get move and do whatever the hell is happening. But I'm also not sure how much English Quad speaks. I don't know if that's a barrier or not to the team. Whether it is or isn't, I'm not sure if this player, Quad, who actually has been playing for a while, is going to be able to play the game the way Inspired wants him to, right? And Inspired is very obviously the leader of this team. Inspired just kicked Jensen off the squad, just fucking booted him out the door because he was playing too vegan apparently. And I don't know. Maybe Mithy brought in as the assistant coach, where all of the weight is not on his shoulders. Maybe he will be able to help his team mesh together, solidify their ideas and their game plans and what they want to do. But I don't know if this team can fix what needs to be fixed, which just felt like a lot of interpersonal stuff. Did Inspired and Jensen truly have like actual beef behind the scenes? They wouldn't let you believe it outside, right? So it's hard to tell. But I think the individual talent on this team across all the players is pretty good, right? Aside from people that will say like Busio looked like shit, like actually in playoffs and MSI, they're kind of right, but neither here nor there. I think every player on this team has an individual peak that is very high. They just need to mesh together and bring those peaks together so that way they can have a solid performance. Again, if you randomly lose out on a bad series 1 week, your standings could really hurt. You could easily see another FlyQuest last summer situation where they're supposed to be pretty good, and then they end up in like last place and miss playoffs, right? Not last place, they were in like 9th. Immortals was last as always. But that's my thoughts on FlyQuest. We will see how they move going forward. Again, I just want to reiterate that the 3, 4, and 5 place teams are kind of interchangeable for me. So at the bottom, oh no, I did this. At the top of B tier, I have Cloud9 at 4th place. So I'm just kind of what I have written down, right? If JoJo and or Berserker can't carry enough games on their own to get like 4th place at like a solid 4 and 3, maybe I can see even 3 and 4 being 4th place. If JoJo and or Berserker can't carry enough games on themselves to reach 4th place, I will be disappointed, but I won't be surprised. I do think that the coaching swap is very much needed. I think Reaper is going to be a much harsher coach and actually force the players to like start doing things together, even if they don't really like doing it together. I don't know. But I think the coach swap is necessary. But also it's a shame that Reaper has 0 support staff. Like, they still have Vagar V2, I think, but he's remote. He's over in Europe, and I don't know how much of a help he actually is. He gives like insight on builds and champions, and I think he does like 1v1s sometimes, but it gets kind of hard with like all that ping in the way. But he does provide some help, but that's not anywhere near enough the kind of staff that like I think you need on a team, which is more like the NRG route where you have positional coach for all of or most of the players. You have your head coach, you have your assistant coach, you might have like they don't call it a draft coach, what is it? A strategic coach, that's what they call it. I think without all the help, Reaper might also struggle to rein this team together and bring it all in. On the other hand, I don't actually think the player swap from Fudge to Thanatos was necessary. And the reason I say this is that Fudge was never the problem. He didn't have like a great split ever since like the Lee Sin Viego meta that was in top lane. That was his best, and he kind of went down in power level a bit, and then he went to mid lane, and when he went back to top lane after mid lane, he wasn't ever really the same. But I don't think he was ever actually a problem for the team. He was always like really steady, always at least going even in lane, if not winning lane in bad matchups, right? Even playing Renekton into Rumble, he made that one look easy and winnable. I don't think Fudge was the problem. I think they just made a change to make a change and to make people behind the scenes and fans happy. The thing about Thanatos is that he is supposed to be like this really amazing player, really talented, really mechanical, and in the exhibition games against Fear X, formerly Live Sandbox, against the exhibition games against their challengers team, he didn't look anything exceptional. And as far as the drafting, they just put him on Cassante Renekton again, instead of actually giving him, like, I don't know, cool champions that he's supposed to be good at. Now, granted, you can still be good at Renekton and Cassante and be like, Cassante is supposed to be the, quote, skill expressive tank, unquote, but I don't think that those are the kinds of champions that we want to be seeing when you bring in a super talented, super mechanical player that's supposed to win his lanes and carry games. We want to see, like, Camille's, we want to see Fiora's, even, like, Gnar, okay, hot take, I think Gnar can be exciting to watch sometimes because he controls the team fights and he can shit on lanes. But that's my hot take for the day. But he didn't have, I think, a super exceptional impact in either of those games during their Fear X exhibition. He had, like, one really good team fight on the Renekton, and then that was kind of it. But if nameplates were turned off, I would totally believe you if you said it was Fudge playing those games and not him. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's concerning. I don't know. And it's kind of really sucks to not know, actually. Because these are the kinds of changes you want to see, like, immediate impact. And I just don't see it. I don't see Fudge being replaced as being necessary. I don't think Reaper is going to be able to handle, by himself, a one-man crew, reigning on these 5 guys to have one cohesive game plan. But individually, again, all of their skill ceilings are super high. And at least Berserker didn't look good in spring last split, but seeing him play those Fear X games, he did look pretty good. He looked like he was back to being himself, which was good. But again, meshing individual stuff into team stuff seems to be really hard, and I don't know if this team can do it just yet. If, in my opinion, we were to replace anyone on the team, it would have been Vulcan. And I'm sorry, I've been a Vulcan lover for years, and I was very adamant that he's been, like, the best support in the LCS since I started watching LCS. The past 2 years, he's kind of fallen off, like, the Grand Canyon. Like, he seems to have Talon-E'd off his porch in-game. Like, I can't actually tell you what happened to him. He just stopped being good one day, and that was it. But top of B tier, 4th place, Cloud9. Next up on the list, at the 5th place spot, again, very interchangeable with Cloud9 and FlyQuest, I have Dignitas in 5th place. So this is kind of a really conservative 5th place. As of now, this team has had, like, a week, maybe? Week and a half, tops, to play with each other. They've had, like, a week and a half, tops, to gel with each other, to play their scrims, to do what they need to do to be a team. So there's a very good chance they start off slow. And that's why they get 5th place. Not because they're bad, and they don't deserve top half, but because it might take them a few weeks to be good as a team. Now, again, individually, I think all of their skill levels, aside from Jensen, are pretty decent. Even Isles, who remained at support, he has history with Sven, and I think Sven actually wants to play with him. So I think I mean, even the last couple times we've seen Isles, he didn't look bad. So I think that individually this team has a pretty stacked roster. They just need some time to gel. But again, there are 7 matches. You get to play 7 matches. You get to play between 14 and 21 games, probably hitting somewhere around the 17-18 mark if you're like a middle of the pack team. If you lose like the first 3 weeks, you're pretty doomed and you're going to be really low ranked. So I think that this team actually requires time to get together, to gel and mesh before they start winning their games and series. I'm just hoping that during like the first 3 weeks before this month-long break, that they're at least winning some games, right? I didn't look at their schedule, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on with them there. But I think as long as they are winning games, they don't have to start winning series until after the break 100%. It'd be nice if they came into the break like 2-1. But again, I didn't look at their schedule actually, so I cannot tell you how that is supposed to look for me. I could actually probably do that right before the end of the episode after I give my match predictions. Yeah, I think all of these players have a pretty good peak. I think Jensen is just like he's on his way out. Like, let's be real here. He's retiring at the end of this, I feel like. I almost said that's like unfortunate, but honestly, I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that bad. One last hoorah. Maybe he gets to Worlds. Maybe he doesn't. Oh, excuse me, I had to sneeze. But again, this team needs time, and I think either way, whether this team does well or does poorly, this might be the last chance for a lot of these players, and they know that. And this might be the last chance for the organization as a whole in the League of Legends ecosystem. Because with the Americas coming up next year, only 6 of these teams get to keep their spot. So 2 of these teams have to go. And Dig is one of those teams that a lot of people are expecting to be gone. Hey, heyo, this is future me coming back to end this one for past me here. I went and looked at Dignitas' schedule, right? So they play C9 first, then 100 Thieves, then FlyQuest, then Team Liquid, then Shopify, then NRG, and lastly Immortals. So their schedule, like, is pretty front-loaded, or maybe it's more middle-loaded. No, it's kind of evenly spaced, I suppose. So they pretty much actually do need to have some success right at the gate. They definitely need to have like 1 series win and maybe 1 game off of each of their losses. But there's a pretty solid chance that if they don't start hot, then they're probably not going to end hot, given the rest of their matches, and also where I've placed other teams above and below them. So here's to hoping the last hoorah for a lot of these players. Well, here's to hoping it's not the last hoorah for a lot of these players, and that they will do well enough to have a home next split. Alrighty, and onto our next grouping. So you have here Immortals in 6th place, taking the last playoff spot. So, asterisk, right? I think the bottom 3 teams are pretty interchangeable. I might actually catch a lot of heat for like 100 Thieves not being like 6th or higher, but we're gonna get to that. This is a very, very high chance of being Immortals' last split in the LCS, or even in like League of Legends. So it's very hard. I genuinely like this team. I like the players that are on the team, right? Castle is still supposed to be pretty good. Mask, I think, has room for improvement, but he was getting like warmed up right at the last end of spring, and I think if he carries that over, he will be okay. I think Ole, really solid, really fun to watch. Sometimes it might look like he's playing for both teams, but that's what makes it fun to watch. And I really, really, really have to hope for Tactical that he has a good split. Because if he doesn't, then it's like another big situation where if he doesn't play very well, then this might be the last split he sees of like NALCS. I doubt he would end up going to like a Brazilian team or anything. And with only 6 of our LCS teams getting a spot in the upcoming Americas League, it's pretty hard. But the important thing here is that Immortals picked up Inero as their head coach, which I think is pretty big. Now, they could be setting him up for failure, which would really fucking suck, but Inero has had a history of making something out of nothing in his entire timeline in the LCS. So, have to hand it to him. He's done a pretty good job. He doesn't get a lot of credit because of things like the biggest thing people will give to him is like, oh, he created that roster that 100 Thieves stole. And then like also Golden Guardians last year that ended up falling apart and exploding. So I feel like he doesn't get as much credit as maybe he should. But neither here nor there. The important part is he is now here, he's with Immortals, and he has a chance to do the funniest fucking thing right now, which is make Immortals a good team. He has a chance to do the funniest fucking thing right now. Imagine Immortals just like going out with a bang. A good one, not last place again. Not a bad one. A good bang. I still have a lot of faith in this team. I still believe that they can be better than what they showed on stage in their games last split. And I think this is their last chance to show it. So they need to step up. And maybe there's a chance that if like the teams above them aren't quite working out, like if FlyQuest bombs out to last place again, if Dignitas takes too long to warm up, if FlyQuest or if C9 just isn't winning, there's a good chance for like all 3 of these next teams to randomly be placed higher than most people would expect them. But we're betting conservatively here, and I'm putting Immortals in at 6th place at the top of C tier. Next up on the list, at 7th place, we have 100 Thieves, and I will probably catch heat for not having this team above Immortals, at least, and I might catch heat for having this team below 5th place. I don't know, some people have them ranked pretty highly and like for no reason in my opinion. But here's the thoughts, right? This is, quote, a development roster, end quote. I think that they could still just use more development, right? Sniper was looking pretty good. Gotta give it to him. He led the league in solo kills last year. He was doing his own thing and it was working out. Now, could it have been that people were just like disrespecting him and not really giving a shit? Totally possible. But we're going to give the benefit of the doubt. We're going to say Sniper is a good top laner, right? So I still think it's a little hard, even though they have like the MVP Quid and the MVP like runner-up in River. I still think it'll be pretty hard for this team to like all come together and actually be the success that they want to be. Plus I still think in the bot lane, like they're not that good down there. The bot lane is the weakest point of the map, and we are heading into a really, really bot lane centered meta again for, you know, the 100th year in a row. but more so, I think, this time than usual, right? Even if we're not seeing double marksman as much, it's still possible. And I have seen Ziggs being played in LEC. I'm not sure if it's been played in any of the Asian regions yet. I don't know if it's been played in LPL yet, but I have seen the Ziggs, and that might be something Meech is pretty good at, because he looked like okay on the Seraphine last year, or last split, and he did have like a pretty wide champ pool, I think, in his time in NACL last year. So there's a chance that like maybe the counter pick meta hits Meech just right, and he's able to pick like Ziggs into the Jinx and just make Jinx not have fun for the first 15 minutes of the game. That's possible, but I don't think that's the best way for this team to win the game. And I think that if we are just letting, you know, Berserker on Aphelios, or like Meech on, or Masu on Varus, or like, you know, anyone else just have free scaling and not actually be pressured in lane, I think that is a very good way to lose the game very quickly. So I think that the top side of the map actually does have to step it up further. Again, Quid MVP, because he was looking pretty baller last split, but I think he needs to do better. I think River did have some uncharacteristic, but also very characteristic ints last split, but that kind of comes with his style of play and the champions that he plays. I think if he plays at that same level, but throws away like an accidental extra couple deaths to some stupid bot lane bullshit, that could spell a game really easily. So, with bot lane being the weakest point, with there still being two rookies basically in the top side as well, because this is what, Quid's third split now? It's very hard, and I can't actually justify putting this team any higher because of other teams having better individual players, better individual peaks, and also I am just too based and Immortals pilled to put 100 Thieves in 6th place. But there's a very good chance that 100 Thieves hits the ground running, and Dignitas is still on the floor, FlyQuest is flopping, and C9 is just kind of middle of the pack. And suddenly 100 Thieves is in like 2nd or 3rd place again for absolutely no reason. Very possible. 100%. But, again, betting conservatively, 100 Thieves in 7th place makes the most sense to me. Now this leaves our last team, 8th place, bottom of the barrel, the Yucky Gucky Shopify Rebellion. So, I do actually like most of the players on this squad. The thing for me is, like, Bvoy looked really good last split. But last split was a very uncharacteristically bad split for all of the 80 carries except for Bvoy. Bvoy looked really good, and everyone else just looked like shit. With Berserker being back in form, it seems, from, you know, a scrim game that was televised, with Yon having as great of an MSI as he did, with Masu still supposed to being pretty good. Actually, he kind of looked like the best or second best player on FlyQuest during their time at MSI. The competition is a lot harder. With Sven coming back at Dignitas, it could be very hard for Bvoy to look as good as he did last split. And that's not necessarily a him issue, but as the environment increases in difficulty, I really, really need Bvoy to step it up, and I need Zeyzal to do a better job. I didn't actually think Zeyzal was that good last split, but I ended up not paying a lot of attention to him. So I'm really, really hoping that the bot lane steps it up, because Insanity in the mid lane, I am not sure what to think. He feels best when he's doing like his silly shit, But then he goes in an interview and says, yeah, I don't even like doing the silly shit all the time because I would rather play meta. And it's like, brother, that's your identity. You don't like being who you are? That's crazy. And then, in my opinion, the swap from Boogie to, what's his name, Tomio? I think it's a downgrade. I was really enjoying Boogie last split. I still think he was doing pretty good. Now, again, Boogie is the positional coach for Tomio, so if there's not too much of a language issue, then Boogie could be teaching Tomio the good shit, and that would end up being fine. I'm not sure when the last time I saw Tomio was in an LCS game. I don't have the biggest of faith in him, and then being paired with easily the worst top laner in the region in Fake God. It is very hard, I think, for this team to actually come together and support this bottom lane that's supposed to be pretty good. And I think that individually the top half of the map is either fallen off, or just not that good in the first place. And this is why they're an 8th for me. Again, if B-Boy pops the fuck off, if Insanity is willing to play like the dumb shit that supports B-Boy further, if Tomio is actually kind of goated, and if Fake God just doesn't like lose lane all the fucking time, then there's a chance that this team could again be up like 5th, 4th place if other teams are fucking eating shit. So, as weird as it is, there's still a good amount of parity in the league, I think, but it's kind of in a much worse way than it was last split, where all of the teams were like supposed to be good and there was parity. Now it kind of feels like a lot of the teams are kind of supposed to be bad and there's parity. It feels really bad, but it's where we're at right now, and a lot of changes are coming, so I kind of don't even blame anyone for anything too crazy. We will just have to wait and see. But that wraps up our power rankings, with Shopify at 8th place. Alright, now for our last segment, I think. Because I don't feel like doing patch notes, because it's going to take too long. So, I'm also too lazy to draw up another screen right now. So, we're just going to do match predictions right here. And I'm going to grab myself. I'm going to scooch over here so I can look at these. So, day 1, match number 1, we have the rematch of the finals in spring, Team Liquid versus Fly. I am predicting a Team Liquid 2-0. Next up, we have Cloud9 versus Dignitas. So, I'm going to gamble here, and I'm going to actually say that this is going to be a Dignitas series 2-1, and it's going to be really close, and it's going to be really bad. This is what I'm betting on here, alright? Then, moving on to day 2, we have 100 Thieves versus NRG, and I am predicting, where did I put the button? I'm predicting an NRG 2-1 to start the season, and they're going to keep getting better from there, I promise. And then, Immortals versus Shopify Rebellion, I am having Immortals come out on top of that one. 2-0, apparently. Oh, yikes. I might change that to a 2-1. I might change that to a 2-1. Catch me in the comments. I might change that to a 2-1. But that is it for week 1 of predictions. And I think that's it for this week's episode of LCS Breakdown. For as long as LCS exists. I will see y'all before too long. Y'all have a good night, a good day, a good weekend, a good LCS, and I will see yous next time. Bye-bye.